Going on YouTube, Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today I have a request from another viewer cashing in on their tier 3 sub, and they said, Clover, how do you build Sun for Regulation C? What would a Sun team look like in this kind of format? So we had some ideas there. We looked at some previous results from like Series 2 teams, or rather Regulation B teams. I'm never gonna get that right. Okay, and then we realized, oh, okay, you know, we can pretty much adapt those Regulation B teams and then just transfer it into like a Regulation C kind of team. And it's very, very similar. And if anything, a lot of those Regulation B teams, especially the Sun variants, they can do well already right now. You don't really need to add any of the Treasures of Ruin Pokemon, but you know, if you really want to, you can. So this is what we're going to show here, and basically this has also been done in some of the smaller tours and some of the limitless tournaments. So I'm going to show you two variations of how you can do this, and they pretty much play the same way. There's only a difference of like one Pokemon, but we're pretty much going to keep more or less the same moveset. So how does this start? Of course, you're going to have Torkoal here. This is what's going to give you the Sun, but the Drought ability. And then from here, you're going to have like the Flutter Mane stuff, right? And the idea with the Flutter Mane is you're able to benefit from the Protosynthesis because, you know, you have the Sun out and you're going to get a boost in either your special attack or speed, right? But the way I like to play Flutter Mane right now is to play like a slow, bulky, modest set where our special attack is going to outbeat our speed by 1 point. So it's going to be a modest Flutter Mane getting a special attack boost, which is like kind of good. Because then you get a hard-hitting Flutter Mane that, you know, is bulky, right? And a lot of teams, you know, they don't really calc for bulky Flutter Manes all that much. They'll calc for like, you know, choice spec stuff, but you know, they're not gonna try and figure out like you're a bulky Flutter Mane, right? So I like this as a starting point. I also like Lilligant here. Lilligant, it has done really, really well in a lot of the recent Regulation B tournaments, and the Lilligant Torkoal combo. Of course, was already the winner in Vancouver and stuff like that, and then even has a top 4 results in the previous regionals. All right, but the idea is that you're able to pressure with like a bunch of sleep powder stuff, and then you have the power of After You, where then you can just make Torkoal go for like these hard-hitting eruptions, and it's really difficult to stop, right? And the idea with this oppressive combo is like, okay, now you have sleep powder stuff, then you have the eruption pressure, and you kind of almost have to like guess where one is faster than the other, and then like, do you want to take the eruption, do you want to take the sleep powder? And because you have the Sun out, you're getting the chlorophyll boost, then you're getting all that speed control there, right? So this is a really a good solid core for a starting point for a Sun team. And then from here, you have some options, but I think like the more consistent thing to do is just play standard in terms of like going with the Chiyu, right? So with the Chiyu, it does a couple things. One, you have the combination with Flutter Mane, right? Where you're just able to take advantage of those special defense drops and then just start hitting hard, you know, from there with your Chiyu Flutter Mane stuff, right? You can also consider even pivoting in the Chiyu into the Torkoal stuff, where you're just clicking either eruptions or some other move like Earth Power or Flamethrower or whatever other special attack move that you have besides eruption. So you can go with that. You can even lead Flutter Mane, Lilligant stuff, and then even switch out the Lilligant, pivot into the Chiyu, and then go for that, right? So you get the best of both worlds if you ever choose to go with the pivot option in Chiyu, right? You don't have to just lead Chiyu Flutter Mane all the time, right? You can pivot it in, right? And that's the next step if you're like a casual or a newer VGC player, right? You have to learn how to pivot, all right, and position, because that's what's going to get you not only past Master Ball, but actually start getting you those wins into those tournaments, right? But anyway, I digress. So then from here, where do you want to round it out? So this is like a starting 4. This is like always a constant 4 in all of those Sun teams, right? So then I actually like something like Dragonite over here. And this has the results already. But the idea behind Dragonite is, again, you just have all this pressure like on the special side, but then where's your physical attacks, right? So with Dragonite, again, you're able to have priority moves with like extreme speed. Then you can have like a bunch of coverage moves, and then you can either have inner focus where you don't get intimidated or faked out, right? And then you can even choose to go multi-scale, where you're just able to take like one big attack and just stay on the field and keep doing like chip damage, right? This does make you prone to intimidate and fake out, but at the very least, being able to take like one big attack is also really, really important. So you have that option, but then you have something a little bit more interesting, where then now you can also go with the Great Tusk here. And I like in this slot, you can either do two options, right? And this is where the variance is going to come into play. You can either have the Great Tusk, or you can either have the Chien Pao here and just rely on Dragonite Chien Pao. I said Dragon Pao? Dragonite Chien Pao. And this is where you're going to have two Pokepastes in the video description. But either way, the Chien Pao is able to boost up the Dragonite. Now you have two physical attackers on the team besides like all special attackers. And then you're just able to also have something against, you know, certain Trick Room matchups, because then you can just go for Ice Spinner, remove their Indeedee's terrain, and then the Torkoal can also benefit in the Trick Room stuff. But ideally, again, you know, just another combination that you can do with Dragonite, right? Or you can just, again, opt for the Great Tusk, where it serves a couple roles here. First of all, Torkoal also benefits the Great Tusk here. You know, you can even do like Dragonite, Great Tusk, and then also go for the Tailwind play. And this is the way I'm going to play the Dragonite on this kind of team, with the Lumberry as well, along with the Inner Focus. So the Lumberry is going to be really good against stuff like Will-O-Wisp, stuff like Spore, Paralysis stuff, if there is not as much of that running around, but still the Will-O-Wisp is important. Then you can just go for Tailwind, make the Great Tusk fast, start going for these hard-hitting Earthquakes. And then what you could also do is pivot the Torkoal in if the Dragonite is like getting kind of low or not really doing much. And then, you know, go with an attack boost on this Great Tusk and start hitting super, super hard, right? So there's the benefit there. So you have two Protosynthesis benefits on this team, and then you have the Dragonite that can be an offensive Pokemon and as well as a supportive set, right? And again, we'll also build the Chien Pao set over here, but that's the idea behind a Sun team right now in Regulation B. This is how I think you should build it, and it's already been proven in some of these tour results. And this is how you also adapt your Sun team from Regulation B into Regulation C, right? At least as a good starting point, right? Maybe later on it might change, but at least for right now, before the format has even started, this is a good place to start if you're trying to play Sun. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to build the rest of the team in terms of movesets, items, you know, Terra options, and then EVs, right? And again, if this is something you're interested in, check out coaching on the channel, where we are able to schedule a one-on-one session with you, and then we host a Discord call, and through that call we build the team like we're doing now, and I show you how to do all your EV spreads, and I explain how to do all the Terra types. I explain why certain moves are used and why certain moves are not used. All right, and then from there, if we even have time, we do a couple test battles, right? And again, that's a tier 3 sub to the channel. If you check the video description below or in the comments section, you'll see a link where you can join the channel with that tier sub. And then once you do, you are able to message me on Discord, and then just we go from there and we start scheduling your session. Or if you already have a team yourself that you just want me to look at and optimize, that's a tier 2 sub to the channel. Same location, it's the same link. You just have to click tier 2 instead of tier 3. All right, so anyway, without further ado, let's go right back into the Sun team, and let's go back into Torkoal here. So let's take a look. Okay, so with the Torkoal stuff, basically you're just going to look for a bunch of offensive moves, because, you know, this is something that can function, you know, thanks to either after you, or we're gonna function under, here's the Clover Tech Trick Room Flutter Mane. Believe it or not, this has come in clutch many games that I've tried this kind of 6. And some of these Flutter Manes, they're going like choice specs here, which is great and all, but I'm gonna go with a booster energy Flutter Mane, and it's gonna have Trick Room, mainly because you can also have the benefit of putting the Torkoal under Trick Room. Even the Great Tusk to an extent can also be played under Trick Room, depending on the circumstance, right? But it's going to be Eruption from the Torkoal over here. Then we're going to have a single target move in Flamethrower. Then a single target move in Earth Power, which is really nice in terms of like ground coverage against other fire types, potentially other steel types. Also really, now again, you can always just click your fire type, but again, you know, the ground coverage is also much appreciated, especially against like those Terra Poisons, you know, Wo-Chiens and Ting-Lu. So having like good ground coverage is good, especially with the Great Tusk on this team, right? And that's also the role of Great Tusk in this kind of format, to really put pressure on those Terra Poison Pokemon, and also the Glimmora, right? This is also why they're going for Terra Grass on the Glimmora, but again, at the same time, you know, you actually want that a little bit more, because then you have a lot more options against it if it does that. All right, then Protect here, and then Charcoal, of course, just to help you do a bunch more damage. Terra Fire, you know, you can just end the game in turn 1 if you're just able to go for the after you Eruption play Terra Fire, right? Just a lot of, you know, hyper offensive pressure coming from this this combo. And you know, just so that it can function under Trick Room, we're gonna go not Modest Nature, but we're gonna go Quiet Nature. Then we're gonna go, of course, 0 speed here, just to have like the most fast Torkoal on the face of the planet. Max special attack, put some bulk on this thing, a little bit more HP, and then you don't really need defense. Let's just put it here in special defense, and that's really all you need your Torkoal to do. And you're gonna rarely see this from me, but a lot of these spreads that you're gonna see are actually gonna be very, very simple. All right, and you know, I always like to play bulky and a little bit more defensive with my EVs, but this is one of those teams, because it's such a hyper offensive team, that you're not gonna see as much complex EVs as I normally do. All right, so with the Lilligant here, so Sleep Powder after you, then you need at least one attack. It's going to be Leaf Storm, and then Protect, of course. Now, you have the option, of course, to have the Focus Sash here, or you have the option to put the Focus Sash here. I think with this kind of team, I want the Focus Sash here, believe it or not. But if you want it on the Lilligant, fine. Then you could just put, like, you know, Booster Energy here, or even Booster Energy here, and then this can get like some kind of Assault Vest, where you're just like a bulky Great Tusk. Or you can even put a Life Orb on this thing and just opt for more damage, right? There's a lot of flexibility in terms of the items on these Pokemon. But over here, because I'm a little afraid of, like, you know, fake out stuff or, you know, priority stuff, so I'm just going to go for, like, Covert Cloak here, right? So Covert Cloak, again, you're denying the secondary effect. So again, with the fake out stuff, this is, again, an important kind of concept. And then you just keep the Sash on this thing, and it's totally fine. So... and just a straight 252 spread, right? And there's really nothing else you can really need to say. You have the Chlorophyll benefit. You outspeed everything right now. So if you truly want to, you can go like some kind of bulky Modest set with this Covert Cloak, and I may end up doing that if I do make this team on card, because like the bulk is not bad, you know, with like this HP stuff, but you know, I also still want to, like, you know, still keep it relatively fast even outside of Trick Room, right? So I mean, outside of the sun. So I'll just go Timid here. Okay, basically just going like super fast on this Lilligant here. But again, you can definitely make this bulky if you so choose to, because I don't even have the Focus Sash. So there's that. And if you really want that, you know, just ask me in the comments section and I'll give you a bulky Lilligant spread. I'll comment there. All right, but with the Flutter Mane here, now again with Trick Room here, so we are gonna go with Shadow Ball, your Stab, Ghost Move, Moonblast, another Stab move, Trick Room, and Protect. You know, very standard Flutter Mane set. And we'll get back to these EVs in a second, but this is what we're going for. And then Terra Fairy, of course, right? So this is also really nice for extra fairy damage. Where are you? Okay, then the Chiyu, Choice Scarf, okay? And again, you know, with a lot of these Scarf mons, we're going to go, again, very simple, basic 252 spreads. Dark Pulse, you know, if you can get those, you know, key flinches, if you're, you know, those key fast Dark Pulse flinches, that's also really nice. Heat Wave, it's going to do a lot of damage. You know, you can even pivot your Torkoal into the Chiyu, and then just do a bunch of damage that way. Snarl is really nice. You know, special attack damage mitigation, I like it a lot. And then single target overheat just to blast something. I think it's very much appreciated. And again, you can go like a Modest set here, because, you know, we also have Tailwind on Dragonite. Don't forget that. So you might like be overspeeding things, but as a starting point, you know, maybe if you don't click Tailwind on the Dragonite, that's totally fine. You can definitely just do something like this, where you're just going for like a simple 252 spread and just go Timid Nature here. It's totally fine. And the Dragonite here with the extreme speed, then you can just go for, I like Stomping Tantrum tech choice here. You know, a little bit of ground coverage is also very much appreciated. Something that you can always click. If you have the Chien Pao here, definitely you need the ground coverage here. But if you have the Great Tusk, you're able to possibly click another move. Like, you can even just go with your typical stab moves with Terra Blast and Dragon Claw, for example, and then just go Terra Flying. This is an option. Okay, if you don't want Dragon Claw, if you rather have like some other coverage move, then you can even consider like Iron Head, right? And this will also be able to snipe those Flutter Manes, for example, right? You're just able to come in, click Iron Head, and then if you have the Tailwind set up, you're gonna outspeed them, and they think, oh, you can't really hit me with extreme speed, you know, Terra Blast is not gonna kill me, so haha, I'm gonna stand here. But then you click Iron Head, they just drop, right? So having like that steel coverage is nice. If you can also put a fighting coverage here move with like Low Kick, You do have close combat on the Great Tusk, but if you don't want to be like completely reliant on that, you could definitely go for like the low kick stuff. I think you just have like a lot of options here as far as like what you want to consider using on Dragonite. It's totally fine. Even Ice Spinner over here, right? You can even like, yo, yeah, actually, yeah, you could just do Ice Spinner. Extreme Speed, Ice Spinner, Terra Blast, and then Tailwind is actually a really, really good set. You don't have to even put Stomping Tantrum here. I think when I was using this team, I had Stomping Tantrum at the moment, but that's okay. But yeah, this is the set if you have the Great Tusk here, all right, along with Tailwind, right? So Extreme Speed, Ice Spinner, Terra Blast, and Tailwind. So Ice Spinner really good against other Dragonites, other Great Tusks. Good at removing Psychic Terrain from the Indeedee Armor Rouge teams. I don't think there's going to be as many of them as you saw in Regulation B / also Regulation A. But they're still running around a little bit, and you still want to be able to have something against it, right? And Ice Spinner is just a really, really good coverage move, right? It's good into, like we said, the Great Tusk and other Dragonites. Good against those Terra flying types as well. Good against Wo-Chien if they don't Terra. So it has its merits. Great Tusk here, very standard set here with Headlong Rush, close combat, and then what's gonna call it? Earthquake, right? You can Earthquake next to your Dragonite and then Protect. And because you can see that we have not only Dragonite, but like 1, 2, 3, right? 3 other Pokemon with Protect. That's like 4 targets that you can technically Earthquake next to, because, you know, you just Protect and click the Earthquake one, right? It's totally fine. And then you just want like Terra God just for like extra damage. Flying is over here. I like Grass, you know, just to get around the Amoonguss stuff. That's totally fine. And in terms of like an EV set for this kind of team, besides the Great Tusk and the Flutter Mane, I think we did it all. So with Great Tusk, again, just a I like Adamant here. Believe it or not, I like going Adamant here. I like going to the bump. I like going max speed. This will outspeed modest Goldengos just by the looks of it. And then just going stuff like this, right? Just a bunch of HP. You can even just do something like this, where you have something along the lines like this, right? But it doesn't really matter what you do with these extra EVs. You can just dump them here like this, right? And then from here with the Dragonite, I like going Adamant, of course, and I like going to the 3rd benchmark. And again, if you don't know what when I say benchmark, if you don't know what that means, comment in the video comment, I should say, and then ask, what is an EV benchmark? What is an EV bump? I'll explain it, but it's basically these points where the stat will increase by 2 points instead of 1 point as you invest more EVs, right? And the rule is it's for every 80 EVs after the first bump is where you're going to see this bump, right? So let me find the first one right here. See, here's the first benchmark. See how you go from 174 to 176? You skip 175. So now you're getting 2 points into your attack stat, and this is what we call the first benchmark. The next one is after 80 more EVs. So what's 44 plus 80? 124, right? And if you look at that, you see here's the second one, 185 to 187. There it is. There's the second one. And here's the third one, 124 plus 80, 236. And I leave it here. This is the last benchmark, right? Wait, actually, did I calculate? I'm sorry, 198. The 124 plus 80 is 204. There you go. I can math. All right, then the HP number, I'm just going to put at 191. This is just to optimize Tyranitar sand chip damage. Tyranitar still running around, causing a menace. And again, 191 divided by 16, 11.9 something, which will round down to just 11 chip damage per turn, as opposed to this, where now it'll be 12 damage. Why am I taking extra damage if I don't need to? So you undercut the threshold like this, and now you're only taking 11 points of damage per sand chip. All right, then if you put this much investment, this under Tailwind will already outspeed the Iron Bundle, okay? Because 104 plus 104 is, 208. The bundle reaches 206 after, with the timid 252 spread. So you outspeed the bundle this way. However, I would like to speed creep those Pokemon. So I like to go at least 2 above, sometimes even 3. And then from there, you can just, just keep going with your investment. I like to just put 1 point here in the bulk, and then 1 point here in the bulk as well. And then if you want, you can just put like a little bit more points this way. After 107, you outspeed Dragapult on the Tailwind, but Dragapult's not really relevant in the meta at the moment. So you can just, you can leave it here. You can leave it here. I like leaving it, at 107, and then you can just put a bunch of these points right into your attack stat, and then you just max it out like this, right? And that's your Dragonite spread. Okay, then Who else did I leave out? I left out the Flutter Mane. So basically with the Flutter Mane, I'm going to use the same Flutter Mane I've been using. I like it a lot. It hasn't really, I have not really complained about it every time I've used this. So I'm going to go to 175. This will outspeed Adamant 252 Dondozos, right? And then from here, I'm just going to put into the first bump in Modest Nature in the special attack. And you might say 176 is kind of low. But you understand that you are getting a booster energy special attack bonus, you know, and then now this 176 is actually a pretty decent number. And look how you see how it's 176, it's outspeeding your 175, so you're definitely going to get that Modest Nature boost. Just 1 point in the special defense. Your special defense is already as high as it needs to be. You don't need any more than that. Now we have 312 EVs where you can put a whole bunch in your HP like this, right? And this is, again, will optimize for the Tyranitar Sand Chip damage. And then the rest just goes into defense. You see how now you have a little bit of defensive bulk, right? So that's good because, you know, there's no calc for this, right? So bulky Flutter Mane, and this is the team. Okay, I believe we got all the Terras. Okay, this one, we can go, technically Terra Ghost here. Now you might say, why do we have a Covert Cloak and we're going Terra Ghost? Well, the idea is the Dragonite or the Arcanine extreme speed stuff. I got this question a lot when I had Covert Cloak Talonflame. That's because y'all don't play enough. If you guys are not playing enough, you're not experiencing the extreme speed stuff that you might run into ladders. So you need the Covert Cloak, you need the Terra Ghost type for both of those reasons, okay? The fake out stuff and the extreme speed stuff. Okay, this is fairy, this is grass, this is flying, and this is ground. So this is the first version of the team, all right, where you have the Dragonite Great Tusk combination, Flutter Mane, Chien, Torkoal, Lilligant, and again, you have some other flexible leads, some other flexible options. You can do, you know, the Torkoal Great Tusk, power up your Great Tusk, Torkoal Flutter Mane, protect the Torkoal, go for Trick Room turn 1, start clicking Eruption, all right, switch out your Flutter Mane and keep it in the back for another turn. If anything, what you could do is, like, if you get off that Trick Room, pivot in the Chien. Now you have an even harder hitting Eruption in the sun with your Torkoal, right? So there's some, you know, strategies there for you. And then you can keep the Flutter Mane in the back when the Trick Room is over, all right? And then you already know what Lilligant Torkoal does, right? So this is one variation of the team. So now I'm going to quickly adjust the squad where now you can have also the, what is it? The Chien Pao version rather than the Great Tusk version. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so with the Chien Pao version, basically, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have Ice Spinner over here, and while you might be comfortable with 2 Ice Spinners, I feel like the coverage is a little bit repetitive. So what I'm going to do is replace this Ice Spinner with something else, like another coverage move. And again, I did mention you can have Stomping Tantrum here. So now that you lost the Great Tusk, I think now you need that ground coverage again. On this team, just for, again, the poison terras, the Glimoras running around, the fire types. So this is where the Stomping Tantrum comes, okay? And the Chien Pao here, you're gonna have Ice Spinner. I do like Sacred Sword here. I like Sucker Punch. I think they make a lot of sense. And then Protect here in this slot, and this will also get the Focus Sash here, right? So that being said, if you want the Focus Sash back on the Lilligant, you can definitely go for something like a Life Orb Chien Pao, which we did before in another building video, and it works out great. Okay, it's up to you, but I do like the Covert Cloak here. But again, if you feel a little bit more safer with the Sash, okay, over on this side, and then the Chien Pao with the Life Orb, sure. But I feel like you want the Sash here, and then just have, you know, a little bit more of a defensive approach with the Covert Cloak on the Lilligant, right? This is my opinion. Right, you can have your own opinion, but just from playing and experiencing the squad, I much enjoy the Covert Cloak here, because a lot of these teams, you know, with the Iron Hands, they always like to fake out the Lilligant because they don't want it clicking after you, okay? Or they might even fake out the Torkoal. And if they do that, what I like to do is protect Torkoal turn 1. Don't fake out the Iron Hands, fake out the slot next to it, because then nothing happens that turn. Right? Not fake out that. Sleep out the slot next to the Iron Hands. And I'll show you a couple battles where we actually do that. And that'll give you like some strategies as far as like playing the team. But anyway, this will just be a jolly 252 spread. Again, we're a Sashmon. We don't really need too much investment here. And the rest of the coverage like just stays the same. Okay. You could even go Terra Ghost here, just to dodge the fighting type attacks. Again, you're dodging the fake out, and you're dodging the 4 times weakness to a fighting type attack. So Ghost makes a lot of sense. This is still Terra Blast flying, and everything else pretty much just stays the same. So this is the 2 versions of the team. You still have Tailwind on your Dragonite. The only thing is I switched out the coverage because I want that ground coverage back on the Dragonite here. Chien Pao will have the Ice Spinner, of course. And then on this version, you have the Ice Spinner here on Dragonite because I don't have the Chien Pao and I don't need the Stomping Tantrum anymore. In exchange, I get a ground type in the Great Tusk, something that's a little bit more offensive. And again, you can go Jolly Spread here if you want. Totally up to you, but this is it. Okay, so you see the molds of the team. You have a Trick Room mode, you know, against the other hyper offensive teams with Tailwind. You have your own Tailwind, for example, the Great Tusk, the Lilligant, and the Torkoal stuff. You know, you know what they do. And then Flutter Mane Chi is also another kind of combination that you can always try. So I like both versions. So what I'm going to do now is show you a couple battles where I use both teams and just show you like some potential plays that you could do. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, so let's take a look at this game. This is actually against a Rain team, which is actually good. So it's like Rain versus Sun. So you know he's going to bring the Pelipper. Like there's no way he just lets me run through with this Sun stuff. And I would imagine Palafin comes as well. And as well as like the other 2 options, I'm not sure. But maybe even that Iron Treads might even come here just because I have like 2 fire types here. And that last option is just up for grabs. I have no idea. But either way, I still want to start off strong with the Dragonite Great Tusk combination just to like, you know, because other than the Pelipper, everything here just gets smashed by the ground coverage. Now, granted, he might have Terra Grass options, but I want him to force that Terra because then I can just come in from the back and start sweeping, right? With my fire stuff or my Dragonite with the Terra Flying stuff. So that's what I want to do here. And basically, that's what we do. So here's the Palafin, and here's the Iron Treads, not the Iron Hands, and Dragonite Great Tusk here. So basically, I know this is going to hard switch, right? So what I'm going to do is actually just target it anyway, and whatever comes in, I'm going to try and smash. It could be the Pelipper, which I totally expect, because like my ground coverage is not going to hit it. But at the very least, I can still hit the Iron Treads, and then get rid of that Steel typing, even if he does like go for the Terra option on it, right? So he does hard switch into the Pelipper here. As expected, so he protects for some reason over there. I'm not sure why. I guess he doesn't want to take the Earthquake. So we get some good damage on the Pelipper. Get it down to almost about half. So those are some good EVs there. And of course, my Earthquake is just not going to do anything because he protected, and this is a Flying type. That's okay. All right, but now, next turn now. So he's going for the Flying Terra, which I did not actually expect. I thought it would be like some other Terra, but actually this Terra Flying makes a lot of sense. Goes for the Ice Spinner. I do live that. And, you know, it's not a stab move, so good job, Dragonite, with the bulk. And, by the way, I did click on the Tailwind here just to match his Tailwind. And my Great Tusk, I did go for the Earthquake plate. Now, you might say that's, like, kind of silly. But, like, I thought he might try and save the Pelipper here. Just because, like, I can just double up here with Close Combat and even, like, Extreme Speed. But I guess, you know, I called that wrong. So I end up doing nothing with the Great Tusk. And we just get off both of our Tailwinds, right? So that's okay. But now what we can do is, I know he wants to preserve the... This is what I thought he would do last turn, where he got the Palafin in, right? So now I'm just going to double it up with this Extreme Speed and the Headlong Rush Speed. Actually lives, right? And I'm an adamant Great Tusk, which is very interesting. All right, but I get rid of the Palafin with another Extreme Speed, and he goes for Stomping Tantrum to Dragonite. I go for Headlong Rush. We both make some reads here that end up not paying off. We stay in with our flying options, so oh well. I thought he would switch it, but he did not, and he thought I would do the same. So here comes Flutter Mane. 1 turn of Tailwind. I would just want a little bit of chip damage on the Iron Treads because I know I'm going to lose this Dragonite. My Tailwind's ending, and I'm just going to try and do something with the Great Tusk, but again, I know I get outsped here because he has his own Tailwind. And it's actually Life Orb Flutter Mane, and that's interesting information for me. That means it's not Specs, it's not Sash. So here comes my Torkoal. Protosynthesis activate. He gets the speed boost while I get a special attack boost. So that tells me that this is a timid Flutter Mane, which means he's not modest. And even though he has a Life Orb, I should be able to live because he's not modest, right? And that's what I expect here. So I'm going to protect the Torkoal and go for that Trick Room play because it's my only chance here. The only real way I can really start inputting a lot of damage is if this Torkoal can start going for those eruptions. So I'm going to just like hope he just doesn't double in. I protect the Torkoal here, and he's going for the Shadow. I do live, like I said, I do live, barely, and he goes for Stomping Tantrum and the Torkoal's out. Thank God, okay? Because I think he just thought that would kill. right? Because otherwise, why not just click Earthquake? And I would imagine it does get Earthquake there, but he would just kill his own Flutter Mane. But then you just win the game, right? Because my Flutter Mane would just die, even if my Torkoal lives. Like, what is it really doing? Not a whole lot. So I think that was a misplay there. But I do get off the Trick Room, and now the Torkoal can start clicking Eruptions. Of course, he has to just protect the Flutter Mane, get the rain back in. But that's fine, because I know he's going to do that. So I'm going to read that, and I'm going to Moonblast this slot always, right? Because I know that he's protecting that slot, and we get that read right. So now he brings back in the Iron Treads. I know he protects that one. He just protected the Flutter Mane. So I respect the protect there, but I still take out the Flutter Mane, right? And now it's a 2-on-1. Now we can go for the Terrify. Now we go for the Eruption. I know it's in the rain, but because it's single target, it does a lot of damage. And I was going to be faster anyway because it was still Trick Room. And this is a slower Flutter Mane. All right, and I know he's a faster Iron Tread. So this is one of those games where the Trick Room did pay off. Right, I got a couple of reads wrong, but that's okay. I still made at least one good read where I was still able to make a comeback and win this game. All right, so let's take a look at the Chien Pao version. Okay, so now this Chien Pao version has also another mirror matchup here with the Great Tusk. All right, but see, you see this Great Tusk team? You know, it looks good, but the problem is, where are you clicking Earthquake next to? All right, unless you have like some Terra flying options here, I don't know what to do or where you're clicking Earthquake next to. You would have to like protect your slot. So honestly, what I'm going to do here is just lead the simple combination of Lilligant and Torkoal and start imposing my will. Like, I know he has one fake out Mon, but here's the thing. Who are you faking out? Are you faking out the Torkoal or the Lilligant? If you fake out the Lilligant, I'm sleep powdering the Chi-Yu, right? Because I have a Covert Cloak and I always want to sleep powder the non-fake out slot, all right? Or I should say the Pokemon that is not using fake out, right? Because that's how you make sure that you get a turn of productivity. So let's see what he does. He does fake out my Torkoal. That's okay, but this is why you sleep powder that slot. All right. So now next turn, now you could just go for the after you stuff. He can pivot out his Iron Hands if he wants, or he could stay in. That's totally fine. I'm still going for that play, you know, because it's just important to get damage at the board at this point. So here's the after you. Here's the Terra. Does a lot of damage into the Chi-Yu. Of course, gets it below half. Doesn't kill the Iron Hands. That's still fine. And he might even just go for like a Wild Charge or Close Combat, but that's not going to kill the Torkoal, right? We have such high special regular defense. Yeah, you see that? Even an Eruption right now would just end him. But he goes into the Great Tusk, right? So this is where I want to get rid of the Iron Hands. So I just get rid of it. There's no Sash there. And then you just Earth Power the Chi-Yu. All right, I want it off the board. And thankfully he stayed asleep. Now he has just two options left. Here's the Iron Hands. Here's the Flutter Mane. Same rule applies. Where I'm gonna choose to protect the Torkoal. I don't want it to die. And now I'm gonna sleep powder the other slot, not the Iron Hands, because I don't care. He's clicking fake out. Okay? And I have a Covert Cloak. So protect here. He goes for the fake out on the Torkoal again. And I sleep powder the Flutter Mane, which is great because now I'm rolling. And now I get to, he does wake up, but he just clicks protect. Doesn't want to die to Eruption. Here's another after you. Iron Hands does not survive from this range. And now it's just a 4v1 on the Flutter Mane. And see, he doesn't have a whole lot for this combination. This is what I mean by Lilligant Torkoal. If you didn't believe, you know, Abdullah or even Nails when they were using a squad like this, now you understand like the value of Lilligant Torkoal in this kind of format. It just puts on so much pressure. Okay, so some quick battles there, and now we're just gonna bring you back to the pace and get you guys out of here. Okay, so again, this is the Dragonite Chien Pao version where the Dragonite has Stomping Tantrum rather than the ice coverage, okay, because you're getting the ice coverage here on the Chien Pao. And then over here, this is the Dragonite with Ice Spinner because you don't have Ice Spinner, you don't have on the, you know, Chien Pao, you instead have a Great Tusk. So instead of Stomping Tantrum, you know, we get the ground coverage anyway with the Great Tusk, and now we can put the ice coverage back on the Dragonite. So that's the main variance that you have between both squads. Other than that, the other four pretty much stay the same. And this is it. This is where I think you can start off with Sun if you decide to use a Sun team. Both Pokepastes will be in the video description below. Try any one of them you want. I think they're a lot of fun. They make a lot of sense in terms of like how they work. You should be able to get some quick wins on the ladder. You know, if you're down there in the ladder, you know, just to impose your will with some of this hyper offensive stuff with either of these teams, right? And again, if you're interested in coaching, if you're trying to go to an upcoming regional, aka Fort Wayne, or if you're trying to go into Charlotte and you need some last minute coaching, I don't imagine you would, but again, this is pretty much for Fort Wayne. So if you need something for that, definitely hit me up for coaching. Again, video description below, there is a link for the tier 3 sub to the channel, or you can check the comment section, also tier 3 sub. But every single video has a join button where it will bring you to that same link. So 3 places where you can click that link and join for coaching. All right. But that's all I got to say. Hope you enjoyed the squads. We'll be back in another video in the next one, guys. Peace out and have a good night.